This slime is an extraterrestrial parasite. After bonding with a host, they transform into bloodthirsty monsters with superpowers. These are the symbiotes. Today, let's review the symbiotes that have appeared on screen with Sir Barkalot. Familiar names include Venom, Carnage, and Riot. Please note that this video contains spoilers for the 2018 Venom movie and some important information from Venom trailers. We will certainly start with the most famous symbiote character in comics and on screen, right? Venom is one of the most notorious villains of Spider-Man, up there with Green Goblin and Dr. Octopus. The character made his debut in 1984 in The Amazing Spider-Man number 252 as a black suit, and his full form was revealed 4 years later in issue number 299. Those who have read the comics surely remember the two versions of Venom that appeared on screen. The first was in Spider-Man 3 in 2007, played by Topher Grace. In the Sony Pictures universe of Marvel characters, Tom Hardy plays the character in Venom 1 and 2. First, let's refresh a bit about Venom's origin in the movie. In Spider-Man 3, a small piece of symbiote falls to Earth near where Peter Parker and Mary Jane are on a date. The symbiote attaches itself to Peter's motorcycle and returns with him to his apartment. Later, it attaches itself to Peter while he is sleeping and turns into a cool black suit that enhances Spider-Man's fighting abilities, making him more aggressive and confident. After realizing that he has hurt both Gwen Stacy and Mary Jane, Peter goes to the top of a church tower to remove the parasite from his body. But by chance, Eddie Brock is there, and the symbiote attaches itself to him, creating Venom. In the standalone film, Venom is introduced as part of a team of 4 symbiotes who ride a comet to find a planet to conquer. They crash land on Earth and are taken by the Life Foundation for experimentation. When journalist Eddie Brock breaks into the Life Foundation to find evidence of the experiments, he accidentally becomes host to the Venom symbiote and they escape together. The origin story of Venom in the comics is quite similar to the film adaptation by director Sam Raimi, but there's a more complicated backstory. According to the comics, Venom is part of the 998th generation of the Clintar, an alien race of symbiotic organisms that live and reproduce by invading hosts. However, after being separated from its first host, Venom shows a desire to bond and protect its host instead of invading them. This is quickly discovered by the Clintar and Venom is imprisoned on Battleworld. After many years, Spider-Man finds the Venom symbiote in a machine on this planet, where many superheroes and supervillains have been brought to fight in the Secret Wars event. The symbiote also turns into a black suit and is brought back to Earth by Spider-Man. There's a funny detail that before being found by Spider-Man, the symbiote had briefly teamed up with Deadpool. After realizing that it was a living entity, Deadpool released the symbiote and questioned whether his own chaotic mind had been affected by it. As for its powers, like other symbiotes, Venom grants its host increased strength, durability, flexibility, and the ability to heal from wounds. Additionally, Venom can transform matter in its body into tendrils to attack enemies. But everything comes at a cost, and the symbiotes will eventually drive their hosts insane, craving the phenethylamine compound in the human brain. Fortunately, Eddie found a different source of phenethylamine to calm Venom's hunger, chocolate. As for weaknesses, all symbiotes are vulnerable to high temperatures and high-frequency sound. These have been used many times as weapons against Venom. Consumed by hatred, Venom and Eddie have taken the path of villainy. However, through each comic book page, this character gradually evolves. From a simple enemy of Spider-Man, he becomes a true anti-hero. From the first appearances, Venom and Eddie Brock rarely purposefully attack innocent people. In fact, they have even put aside their hatred to work with Spider-Man to save people and fight against even more evil enemies, especially in the latest comic series where Eddie teamed up with Venom to defeat an ancient evil deity named Null, who created the symbiote. But perhaps the greatest hero and virtuous period of Venom was not with Eddie Brock, but when it combined with Flash Thompson to become Agent Venom and join the Guardians of the Galaxy. I wonder if Marvel will let the audience witness this story in the future? And that is Venom, the first symbiote on our list. In my opinion, the story of Venom and Eddie always carries a touch of romance. This is also the perspective of director Andy Serkis, who confirmed that the romantic relationship will be the focus of the Let There Be Carnage movie. This makes sense since Eddie Brock is probably the first person to see the symbiote as a friend, even a lover, rather than just a tool or a simple weapon. Although he has committed many crimes, he constantly tries to escape his dark past to redeem himself. Venom may never become a true superhero. But it is also difficult for us to see this character as a purely evil villain. Now let's continue exploring other symbiotes. In Venom 2, Eddie Brock and Venom will face a new and extremely dangerous pair of enemies. They are Carnage and the serial killer named Cletus Kasady. Carnage first appeared in the comic book The Amazing Spider-Man number 360 in 1992. Venom 2 is the debut of this character in the movie. In the after-credits scene of Venom and through the trailers for the sequel, Carnage is born from an encounter between Eddie and Cletus. If you remember the end of the first movie, Eddie went to a prison to interview the serial killer before his execution. Eddie and Venom were careless, allowing Cletus to bite Eddie's hand, transferring a part of the symbiote into the cold-blooded murderer. When Cletus is executed with lethal injection, a horrifying, bright red creature emerges from his body. Carnage immediately goes on a rampage, killing all the prison staff and escapes with Cletus. They wreak havoc throughout New York and await the confrontation with Venom. The comic book origin of Carnage is similar to the movie. In this version, Eddie and Cletus are imprisoned in the same cell. One night, Venom comes and helps Eddie escape, inadvertently leaving behind a newborn offspring in the wreckage. This symbiote comes into contact with Cletus' blood on his open wound and merges with him, giving birth to Carnage. It is more resistant to temperature and sound than its parent. Particularly, unlike other symbiotes, Carnage has a blood-based connection instead of a neural one, unlike Venom. Will Eddie and Venom be able to utilize this in their life-or-death battle against Carnage? As we have seen in Venom, symbiotes are influenced by the personalities of their hosts with whom they symbiotically bond. Therefore, bonding with a host as evil as the serial killer Cletus Kasady naturally transforms Carnage into a vicious and bloodthirsty monster. Before Carnage, Eddie Brock and Venom had defeated another dangerous enemy named Riot. In Venom, Riot is the leading symbiote of a reconnaissance team discovered by the Life Foundation. After several hosts, it makes its way to San Francisco and combines with the CEO Carlton Drake of the Life Foundation. They plot to return to space and call upon other symbiotes to invade Earth. Fortunately, Venom discovers their plan and manages to defeat the villainous duo. That's the on-screen version, but in the comics, the origin of Riot is much more complex. Riot is also one of Venom's offspring and can be considered Carnage's younger brother. In Venom, The Hunted No. 4, released in 1993, Eddie Brock is captured by the Life Foundation. They force Venom to give birth prematurely to 5 offspring, including Riot, Scream, Phage, Lasher, and Agony. Riot and its siblings are forcefully grown and later merge with the Life Foundation's security personnel. Sometime later, Riot and the other 3 siblings combine to form Hybrid. After their host is killed, they recruit the US military to create a special symbiote task force called the Mercury Team. In total, 4 symbiotes are discovered and brought to Earth by the Life Foundation 6 months after Venom. One of these symbiotes is named Sim-A03 and is combined with a rabbit in the experiments conducted by the researchers. However, Eddie Brock infiltrates the Life Foundation headquarters and discovers that Sim-A03 died due to the inability to find a compatible host. So, does Sim-A03 have a comic book origin? The answer is quite tricky. In Venom, these symbiotes don't have real names like Riot or Carnage, and there is no Sim-A03 in the comics. However, the dominant color scheme of yellow and the red-black patterns, along with the name given by the visual effects team, Yellow, suggest a close resemblance. Sim-A03 is likely inspired by the character Scream. In the comics, Scream is also one of Venom's offspring and partners with Riot. After being forcibly grown, Scream merges with Donald Diego, a former soldier hired by the Life Foundation as a bodyguard. Instead of joining Hybrid with its 4 siblings, Scream escapes and becomes a separate entity. Alongside inheriting powers from Venom, Scream's unique ability is transforming its hair into long tendrils to ensnare and attack enemies. However, the dissociative identity disorder of its host, Donald Diego, makes Scream an unpredictable and erratic character. Lastly, let's talk about Sim-A02. During the experiments, it kills its hosts one by one due to incompatible bonding. This symbiote is then released and combines with Dr. Donald Skirt as a punishment for revealing the secrets of the Life Foundation to Eddie Brock. Sim-A02 kills Dr. Skirt and cannot survive without oxygen. This is perhaps the most unique symbiote on the list because unlike Sim-A03, Venom, Carnage, and Riot, Sim-A02 appears to be a completely new creature. It doesn't have any direct basis in the comics, and the visual effects team named it Blue. It doesn't provide us with any clues either. But it seems like a reasonable choice because Sim-A02 is a very minor detail, and Sony and Marvel may have wanted to save more renowned symbiotes for future films. And that's all the symbiotes that have appeared on the screen. It's truly a rich list, isn't it? Who is your favorite character? Would anyone like to be bonded with their own symbiote? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And now, goodbye and see you in the next videos.